Hi. So I did get to see some of you out there, and you were able to come and share some of what was inspiring to you with me, and I was able to put some of it into the art that I'm creating right now. What I'm here to talk to you about today is a little problem I have with the word yes. I say it a lot. I agree to many crazy things, wonderful things, and horrible things. That's the word that gets me. The most wonderful things happen to me in my life because of this word, yes, and some other things too. Here's some of the jobs that I've had saying yes. This is just like a fraction of the jobs. Yes, tarot card reader, that's the most lucrative one I've had. I've worked on Ragtime and Rocky, and in between, doing some translations for Rocky in Germany and coming to be the script supervisor on Rocky Broadway, I had a lot of time on my hands, as that happens to us in Broadway. You have these like gaps. And I had just finished planning some Broadway opening nights at 101 Productions, and I had 3 days left of work and 3 months to go paying rent with no money. So I was looking for a yes. I was also looking for an open door. This is something that my dad taught me early on, was to look for the open door and walk through it. To do that, you need to have 360-degree vision. If you're focused constantly on what's right in front of you, you're only going to see what's right in front of you. And if you're pushing on that little door, like in the Far Side cartoon where he's just pushing and pushing, sometimes the opportunity is right over your shoulder. And that's what happened to me that day in an elevator. I was standing in an elevator, wondering how I was going to pay my rent, and in walks a man named Doug Fitch. He had the office across the hall from us. And he said, "Oh, I'm going to go meet these puppeteers." Oh, puppeteers. And I said, "You know what, Doug? You should hire me. I can make a puppet. I can make anything." And he's like, "Okay, why don't you come to the storyboard meeting on Saturday, and we'll see if there's a puppet job for you." I was like, "Okay, yes." Yes, I will be there. And so I got all dressed up, and I tried to look nice, and I went down to Brooklyn, and I kind of went through these streets, and I found a warehouse and knocked on these special bells, and I went inside, and it was like puppet mecca. These were not ho-hum puppeteers. This was Matt Atchison, who is the puppet director of Warhorse. And I had walked into puppet magic. So I sat down on a little red stool, and I waited for the door to open. And I waited, and I waited, and all the puppet jobs were gone. But that's okay, because, walk through the open door. So that was all right, because as the storyboard was going by, all these wonderful things were happening. This really crazy, teeny tiny German illustration done with scissors called Scherenschnitte goes by. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. So beautiful. I thought, what is Scherenschnitte? And Doug turns around and he's like, "Hannah Kohl, can you do that?" And I scanned my body. It was like, and I said, "Yes, I can do it. I can do it." He's like, "Okay, great. Have the little samples for us on Monday." And I was like, "Ooh, yikes." That was the first one that I did. I ran home. Yes, I'm a paper cutting genius. So I ran home and I thought, oh man, what have I done this time? Maybe I've said yes a little too enthusiastically. But I had a tiny Swiss Army knife, which, I've got one on me. Here's my tiny knife. I always use my little green Victorinox Swiss Army knife. I have about 30 of these because I go through maybe 2 a week. And this is really what I use, teeny tiny little scissors. I make thousands and thousands of tiny snips on each piece of artwork. This one took me about 9 hours, and when I look at it, I love it, because I'm so proud that was like my first try, and I think it's pretty good. But I got better. I got better fast, because this was just the sample that I had to send, and they said, "That's not even real. Maybe you should actually bring us your real work." So I always start with a blank page of paper, same as musical theater writing, only instead of putting things on the paper, I take things off the paper, and I can't revise. If I make a mistake, I'm hosed. So snip, 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 snip. This is like 40 hours in. Snip, snip. This is the entire plot to the movie Being There. Snip. Oh, I should go back. so you can take a peek. Yeah, there it is. I snipped it with little tiny scissors. And I went on to, instead of having this lead me away from doing more theater work, this flipped me right back around into doing more and more theater work, into more writing projects. It completely relaxed me. It got me away from these long-term projects into something very tiny and small that I can control. And it was an open door that actually led me right back into the work that I love most, which is theater. That's my desk. It's not so different from when I'm writing. And here's one that I made for Shirley MacLaine on her 80th birthday. She'd seen the one from Being There, so she was interested in that. That was for Little Dancer by Lynn Ahrens and Steve Flaherty. And this was for the opening night of Hunchback of Notre Dame. That was a big one for me because the rope is 3D, it comes out, and the bells swing. So everyone in the cast got that. I always start with a blank piece of paper, whether I'm writing or snipping. I always look for the open door. I always say yes. I really do. I hope you do too. Thank you. Thanks.